that, isn't it?
I can do another one if you like.
Oh, I'm all right, thanks.
Excellent. Well, there we go. Welcome to Faith and. I am Andy, she is Ruth, and this is our podcast where we chat about life, God, and everything in between, from baking to roller coasters so far this month, and who knows what is coming up in the next couple of waffle moments.
Well, do we need to address that my background is different? Am I allowed to talk about this? Because it's quite exciting. I've moved house.
Yay!
It's very exciting. I feel like I'm 2 bedrooms. I feel like I'm a proper adult now because I own a house. And yeah, it sucks at the moment though because I have no internet, I have no TV. I am living in chaos because there are lots of boxes around and things like that. So actually my advice, kids, is don't move house. It's very stressful.
Don't move out, live at home forever.
Just stay with your parents. It's so much easier.
So Ruth, has it arrived?
Yes, it has.
On next week, can you show it to us? Because I don't want to run off now and find it. But next week, will you show it to us?
Yeah, I think we need to clarify what this is in case people haven't seen previous episodes. That we have been talking for weeks and weeks and weeks about the fact that I'm going to move house and the fact that I'll do a bit more DIY, and so I need a drill. And so I was going to get a drill for Christmas, but because Christmas was crazy this year, I didn't see my parents, so didn't get my Christmas present. Anyway, my lovely dad came up and helped me move, and yes, he bought the drill. So next week, that can be our waffle at the start. We're
going to get to see an exciting Christmas present, a drill. Like you saw my massage gun that was really good. Ruth was after a drill. So that massage gun is so good, by the way. I use it.
No one wants to hear these things. Why are we telling them about massage guns and drills and moving house?
It's our life, isn't it? It's our life in general. This is who
it
we
is
are.
Our life.
What we do.
If you guys have suggestions of what colours I should paint my walls, I'd love to. Yeah, put that in the comments. You can say the most ridiculous things, and who knows? Maybe in the future you'll see that wall in that colour.
I was going to say aubergine. Oh, well. Anyway, let's jump into the Bible, Ruth. And as we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, we're looking at this Easter story, walking towards Easter Sunday, which is not that long now. I think maybe a couple of weeks to go. So maybe 3 with tomorrow. And we're jumping in little bits of the story, highlighting just little bits and pieces. We've looked at Jesus coming in. We've looked at him taking some time out last week and just asking God to strengthen him. Today, we're going to look at not Jesus, but one of Jesus's best mates.
Yeah, one of his buddies, Peter.
My favourite disciple, because Peter always gets it wrong.
Oh, he's so great, isn't he? He's so good.
And in this particular story, you can look at it in chapter 22 of Luke, verse 54 onwards. You can find it in a Bible later. We're not going to read it out as we haven't been doing over the last couple of weeks. But basically, Peter has just said to Jesus, I'm with you till the end. No matter what happens, I'm going to stand with you. I'm going to fight with you side by side, whatever happens. Again, a little bit like the first Israelites who wanted a political uprising. Peter was still thinking, even though he spent 3 years with Jesus, oh yeah, this is it. I'm going to fight with you. And Jesus sort of says, okay, yeah, whatever. Then Jesus gets arrested. And then 3 times Peter gets recognized as being a friend of Jesus. And 3 different people say to him, aren't you one of his disciples? And Peter's reaction is to go, no, I don't know him. You're crazy, and run away. And he does it 3 times.
It's so funny, isn't it? Like you say, Peter spent 3 years with Jesus. He's been his best friend. We quite often hear about it just being Jesus and Peter, or he's one of the few disciples. He's in like the top 3 sort of thing. And, he's been through so many things and seen Jesus do so many things. And he's like, yeah, absolutely, Jesus, all for you. I'm with you. And then he's like, nah, who's this Jesus bloke? I don't know what you're talking about. And he's just so rubbish. He's just so rubbish that he can't even say, yes, I know Jesus. And to think that this man then goes to be the rock that the church is built on and all of this sort of thing. Peter just gives me so much hope that if Peter is rubbish and messes up so many times, and yet God uses him in such amazing ways, there's hope for me yet that God can still use me.
Oh, definitely. I think for me, when I was growing up, I used to relate a lot to this type of story, and especially looking back, because I think there were so many times for me being at 15, 16 in school where I would go to church on a Sunday morning and I'm like, yeah, play the drums in church, pray out loud and all of this type of stuff. I'm involved in church. But come Monday morning when I'm at school and my mates are like, what'd you do on the weekend? Nothing, boring, stayed at home. And actually there was this double life I've mentioned before that on Sunday I was one thing and on Monday I was a different thing because I didn't want my mates to know. I didn't want my mates
absolutely.
to come to church.
Yeah, it's so hard. I think so many people struggle with that. I certainly did as well. That it takes some courage, certainly in the world and the society and culture that we live in. It takes courage to go, yeah, you know what? I believe in Jesus. I read the Bible. I go to church. This is how I want to live my life. It's different to the way that you guys are living your life, and that's okay. But to have that courage to say that, clearly Peter struggled with that, and he had Jesus stood next to him just a couple of hours before. It's a really tough thing and takes some courage.
Definitely. I mean, I do recognize that Peter was probably thinking, if I say I'm a follower of him, then I'm going to be put to death.
Yeah.
I'm going to die next to Jesus. But actually, that's the sacrifice that Jesus calls us to.
Yeah.
Now, it might not be actual physical death, but at least in terms of our desires, our hopes, our dreams, and things like this, that actually we put aside all of that to follow him. And this is where Peter, is such a great example because he didn't get that.
Yeah.
And he was still hanging on to the wrong thing. And we should be clear here that this isn't the end of Peter's story.
No, not at all.
Jesus dies, goes into the tomb, comes back to life. And when he meets Peter again on the other side, there's a moment where Jesus restores Peter. There's a forgiveness, there's a restoration, and there's a reinstalling of Peter back into that. And there's a change in Peter. And he then, as Ruth said, goes on to be the rock that Jesus says, I'll build my church on you. And he was one of the founding fathers of all of the churches, and has chats with Paul, the other great founding father, for want of a better word. But right now in this moment, that seems miles away.
Yeah.
And then at the end of this 3 denials, there's a cock crows, so it makes this loud cockerel noise as it does that whatever. That's my best cockerel sound. And he realizes what he's done, and he's ashamed, and he runs off, and he's embarrassed, and he realizes that he's mucked up. But I think actually when I muck up, I know the other half of the story. Peter didn't.
Yeah, it is different for us in that way, isn't it? And so we then know what to do next when we get to that point. But I think we can take encouragement from this, that Peter messed up in this way, that it is hard. And I think we have it easy in a lot of ways, don't we, Andy, that this is our job to talk about Jesus, and we're in settings where that is right and appropriate. And it's a really different thing for you guys who are watching, who are in school. That's a really different situation. And we've both said that we found that hard in school and we lived these double lives. And Jesus did at that time. Peter did at that time as well. So we can take encouragement from that. But actually, we need to learn how to do better as well, because this isn't what Jesus wants us to do. He doesn't want us to live these double lives. He doesn't want us to deny that we know him or love him. And so, Andy, are there tips or ideas that you can give our listeners, our watchers, of how we can be better?
I mean, only yesterday I was thinking and writing something that I did for another service, and I had this idea that if you imagine your life to be like a house, and each room is sometimes the different bits of your life. So school might be the living room, and your bedroom might be your friendships and things like this. Sometimes we have Jesus outside on the front lawn and we don't let him in. Sometimes we let him in and we only have him in separate areas.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, Jesus wants to take control of the whole house.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. And it starts with us just going, okay, Jesus, which rooms do you want to start going into? And be willing to take that first step.
Yeah.
And it might be that you've kept Jesus outside the house. And actually the first step is just to say, okay, you can come in.
Yeah.
And I think for Jesus, that's enough right now.
Yeah.
But if you've been going to church for ages and he's part of your family because you've grown up in church, but you've kept him outside of school and friendships, well, maybe Jesus wants to knock on those doors and say, can you open them?
Yeah.
And so
I think
there are tips there, but there is a challenge to actually just say, you know what, we need to take this seriously.
I think we need to remember what we were saying last week as well in our episode, that God is always with us and he gives us courage when we need it. So take some time out and speak to Jesus, speak to God about why you're finding that difficult and what it is that you're struggling with, and ask for the things you need. And God is right there with us. So even when we are in school or we are in those difficult situations, to say, oh, I went to church on Sunday, God's there with us and he will give you the courage you need. We just need to ask for those things as well.
Amen.
Is that a good
I went
place to wrap up?
Yeah,
I love it. It's so
anyway,
good.
sorry, I got distracted for a moment. But yeah, it's all good. I think that's a great place for us to leave it there. So enjoy your week, be blessed, and we will see you next time